Week 12. What's up, everybody? We are live right here. Tony Jason Cutillo. This is the Alternative Edge, part of the Tony Cutillo Show, brought to you by BetQL. We're having some fun today. We're going to have some fun today, like we always do. We talk about top DFS players, talk about best bets, talk about a variety of different plays. I know there's a lot of interesting topics today. We got Jamar Chase out, which we're going to touch on. Is Mitchell Tinsley going to be a guy who steps up? Is it going to be all Chase Brown? There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about today. As always, get your questions in. Let me know if, again, this is, you got a mailbag question. Let me know if you got a best bet. Let me know what else is on your mind. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Like we always talk about on the channel. Make sure you get involved. Any special promos or deals right there on left-hand side, brought to you by our good friends at BetQL. As always, BetQL, where you get everything, where you get your bets, you get your DFS, everything all in one spot. So you get 15% off using that code word Jigsaw. And let's go, man. Let's get ready. First off the bat, let's pop right into some updates, right? We all know Joe Flacco starting, right? I know everybody was thinking about, could it be Burrow? Could it be in? Again, looks like Joe Flacco gets the start. Jamar Chase obviously out because of the spitting suspension. All right. So there's no more Jamar Chase out there. Who gets the uptick? We shall see. We got some big over and under games out there. We're talking about in the 50s that we're going to get into, because I think those are obviously always the games that we talk about when you talk about the Patriots and the Bengals. That over and under is 50. Got 50 and a half between the Giants and the Lions. So we want to make sure that we get a lot of good plays within that system right there. And then even on some of the lower plays too, like I'm looking at the Seattle Titans game as an interesting find here or there when it comes to the betting game and the DFS game. So try to talk about so many different things that get into this action-packed half hour of this show. So let's get right into the DFS values, like I like to do all the time. Let's get into the DFS values. And obviously right here, brought to you by our good friends over there at BetQL. Make sure you get over there at betql.co. You go over to the RotoQL, which is their DFS partners. You still use that code word Jigsaw, get your 15% off. You got your optimizers, you get your projection models, you get everything right there, everything that you need to get. Now, last week we did well. We talked about, let's just throw it out there. Last week was Christian Watson. We talked about get Christian Watson. We talked about Davis Mills, guys that were going to give you some very good value based on their price. Now those prices have gone up, right? So now where do we find value this week? And let's go right to Cleveland. And Harold Fannin Jr., okay? I know, listen, Shedeur Sanders, everybody's talking about it. I don't care what goes on out there in Cleveland. All I know is whether it's Fannin, whether it's Njoku, they love the tight end. It's very, very simple. They love the tight end. No matter what quarterback, they love the tight end. Fannin is a top 10 projected fantasy season-long tight end this week. And to see him in DFS at such a low number, to me, boggles my mind. Now, I know a lot of this goes by production, but you know how I work. I always go by volume, even as the tight end too. I honestly think Njoku and Fannin are like tight end 1A, 1B. But even as the technically tight end too, you're still talking about a player, okay? A player who's got 40 plus targets, or actually 50 plus in just 5 weeks. Think about that. That's a big deal. Okay, so when you talk about that, you talk about volume, maximal opportunities. And no matter what, whether it would have been Dylan Gabriel, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, they're obviously not going to be slinging it deep all the time. And Fannin is a really good, listen, the best play from Fannin that you'll see is those little chip block screens and then go out and catch a pass and then take it for 15, 20 yards. That's what, and Harold Fannin can get up and get it too. HFJ, let's call him HFJ, right? He can get up and get it too. So I like, again, the price. This show is always going to be about value. It's always going to be about value. And you're talking about 3,600 for a value. Now, again, whether you play DFS or not, It doesn't matter. Whether you play DFS or not, it doesn't matter. This number right here, though, it's so low that it can help you out in the betting market. It can help you out in season long. There's a lot of buys, there's a lot of injuries, right? So we never know. So we got a question. Tim, what's up, Tim? Tim says Luther Burden or Darius Slayton, great value. Luther Burton or Darius Slate. Listen, I will be honest with you, where Luther, but both of those guys in that game, right, are maximal values, right? They are maximal values. I mean, you're talking 3,600 for Luther Burden, right? You're talking 3,600 in that offense. But here's what I'll tell you about Slayton. Let me see what Slayton's number is right now. So Darius Slayton's 4,500. Okay, so he's 4,500. He's going to be targeted a lot. I just don't know how much Jameis Winston has left. But what I will say is, no matter what, Slayton's going to get the looks, right? Slayton's going to get the looks. Him and Wandell are going to get the looks. So I listen, I do like that game on both sides. But if you're asking me value, I think the value's got to go to Luther Burden, right? I do. Now, there's a lot of mouths to feed out there in Chicago, though. Like, I'm in Colston Loveland this week. Like, I'm in on Colston Loveland this week. I love Colston Loveland a lot this week. I think this is one of those Colston Loveland games based on his value, and you'll see that very, very shortly. But, when you're looking at that Giants team, I don't know, man. Like, I look at it, and I think, I think Burden could be your value right here. I think Burden could be your value. Seriously. Listen, Ben Johnson offense, I say this all the time. They move the ball around so much, man. They move the ball around so much. And, when they move the ball around so much, again, somebody's catching the ball. Like, that's why you see DJ Moore go up and down. That's why, but they have so many attempts and there's so many gadget plays. And Burden is one of those guys that he wants to keep pushing. He wants to get in there even more. So the good thing about Burden is you see that the targets go down from DJ Moore. So they could pass in the Burden. Now, one thing I want you to keep an eye on is, Slayton had that, listen, clear to return, hamstring injury, soft tissue injuries for receivers that go up and go. They're iffy, right? So if you're worried about the re-aggravation or maybe not being at full speed, then you go and you drop down 900 and you go to Luther Burden. So I probably, for that perspective, I go Luther Burden. Now let's flip the script. Let's go. I told you, very low over and under game in Seattle and Tennessee. I don't care. Okay. I don't care. I try to look at who's going to give us the most value. Right. And so that's what this show's all about. It's finding the value. Now, he's creeping up a little bit because he's getting more and more involved in the passing game. But I love Tajay Spears this week. I do. I like Tajay Spears this week. The reason why I'm starting to like him a lot is he's getting more and more volume in the passing game, and it's really starting to work. I mean, when you're talking about Tajay Spears, this guy doesn't even have to score, right? He doesn't even have to score. He's going to give you 6 to 10 points in a PPR league just from his catches. That's it. That's great volume and great effort. And again, he's still getting the ball. Now, last week was a really weird game, but if you look at that before that, he's still getting you 7 to 8 to 9 carries in those games. And your yards per average, your yards per carry on those averages are ranged anywhere from 4.5 to 6.5. So he's getting the rock. Now, Seattle's defense is no joke. But that's why I like this a lot. I like this a lot because I feel like now, number one, he's healthy. He had the ankle injury, so he's healthy, right? Missed the first 4 or 5 weeks. It wasn't full, obviously, wasn't full go. Comes back in week 5, you could tell he won there. But then he's getting stronger. Week 6, week 7, week 8, week 9, he's getting stronger. And his numbers, Here's what's great. In the receiving market, as he gets stronger, 4.8, 6, 7.7, and 12. That's his yards per catch. So what's happening? Stronger. He's getting stronger, which means it's allowed him to stretch the field a little more as a receiver. He's dynamic. He's a playmaker. Tajay Spears, 4,700. Like him a lot this week. Now, let's get to some more value, shall we? Get some more value, man. Daryl Mooney. Daryl Mooney. Kirk Cousins. No Drake London. No Michael. Shout out Michael Penix, man. Shout out Michael Penix, because I just think that Michael Penix, man, I hope he comes back. It's going to be a tough road for Michael Penix. That's going to be a tough road for Michael Penix for sure. It really is. I mean, this guy has been through so many goddamn injuries. He's blessed to come out of it okay, but I just don't know what the future holds. So right now, it's Kirk Cousins. He didn't look good when he came in before. I think he'll be better prepared. I think now Kirk Cousins, you'll see a little bit of a better showing from Kirk Cousins this week. And there's no Drake London, so he's going to have to lean on guys. Obviously, Bijan in the passing game. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, right? But Daryl Mooney or Darnell Mooney is that get up and go guy, and I love these intriguing plays. He's under 5,000, and I like it because listen, all he needs to do is get 3 to 5 targets in this game, which I think is very, very attainable. 3 to 5 targets, and one of those targets is going to go long. And if one of those targets is going to go long, he's going to score, and we're going to be good. And then we're going to talk about another. This is going to be like a Christian Watson type play like we did last week, and we're going to be cashing it again. So I like Darnell Mooney a lot based on the game script, based on the quarterback play, based on everything. I like Darnell Mooney this week. And all, like I said, all he needs to do is get some value. The Saints, listen, the Saints they play well at home. They have a middle line defense. Shout out to Mario Davis as a middle linebacker that just continues to get it done at a high level at 35, 36 years old. Ridiculous. God bless him. There's a guy who's the epitome of health, who continues to just do things the right way and make a Hall of Fame career, in my opinion. So I love that, but he's not covering the wide receiver. Okay, so I like Darnell Mooney in this game. Now let's go to one more value, and I talked about it earlier, and that's Colston Loveland. Now we hit on this earlier in the year. Remember when we hit on Colston Loveland? I think it was like 6 for 100 and a touchdown. Now I am not predicting that from Colston Loveland. It would be fantastic, right? I think we all would be happy. We really would, but there's some bad vibes going out there in Pittsburgh right now. I know they've rebuilt everything out there. They're dealing with some injuries, but they're very open in the middle of the field. I think they're so worried about, especially in this Ben Johnson offense, they have a lot of people to cover, right? They have a lot of people to cover it, and that's what Ben does. He flips the script just like he did in Detroit. So when you have a lot of people to cover, it's always the guy who gets left alone, which last year was Sam Laporta, right? When Ben Johnson was there, piping up Sam Laporta. Now you get Colston Loveland. So he's going to have these games where, he's wide open and he's getting continued volume. Here's what I like about Colston Loveland. Continued volume. Okay. Ever since week 3, he upticks from 3 to 4 to 5 to 7, and that's targets. And listen, his yards per catch, if you take it the last 4 weeks, his yards per catch, it's 15 plus. 15 plus yards per catch. This is a good, listen, the value is there. This is all about value. I don't care about Cole Kmet. Don't give me Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, you know what Cole Kmet is? Cole Kmet is Brock freaking Wright. That's what he is. He's Brock Wright. I'm not worried about, and that obviously you see the difference, right? The comparison. I'm giving you the Detroit-Chicago comparison because that's where Ben was, if you're new to this, right? But I love Colston Loveland for that specific reason, that he's not Cole Kmet. He's more athletic than Cole Kmet. He's a guy they put a lot of stock in Cole Kmet. And again, Cole Kmet's still going to be dealing with here and there with those back issues that flare up. Listen, this value to me is too well. 3,500 for a tight end. It's just too well to me. My man Sean checking in says, let's have another great Sunday. What are your thoughts on the best games to stack for DFS this week? Here's what I will say. Sean. Looking at the trends, right? Looking at the trends of where all the money's coming in, because that's what I do. When people ask me about stack, I do things differently than a lot of people. I look to Vegas, man. Let me look at Vegas. I'm not worried about all the other stuff. So obviously that Colts Chief game, right? We like that's a game that we want to look at to stack. I think this is crazy, but I think that Panthers 49ers game is going to be an interesting game to stack. I do. I don't know what it is, man. A lot of stuff keeps telling me that Panthers 49ers game, there's going to be some interesting DFS stacks. From the Niners perspective, if you don't want to pay high for Christian McCaffrey, you could go with a stack of you got obviously you got it's going to be a showdown lineup, right? But obviously Brock Purdy coming back, guys like Jawan Jennings, who's finally starting. Like I said, he's getting over those contract issues and he's getting out of his own head. It's probably you don't have to pay high up for Christian McCaffrey. You don't want you can obviously grab George Kittle. You triple play both of them or all three of them. I like that. But this Colts Chiefs game to me, I think there's so much to stack in this game. And what I mean by that, Sean, is value. There's a lot to stack into when it comes to value on this game from San Francisco and from Kansas City and the Colts. There's a lot on both sides. On both sides, I think you have a lot that you could stack on both sides. I really do. Because now that you're seeing everybody is healthy on Kansas City, you're seeing a lot of different ways that you can go. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes under $7,000, not a bad play in DFS, right? You're talking 6,800 for your quarterback, not a bad play. If you're getting him under, I know he's the highest rated, but still, I still think that's a very manageable number, right? When you talk about Drake Mays right now, Drake Mays is 6,900. Okay, so Jalen Hurts 6,600, Lamar Jackson 6,700. Lamar Jackson may be the best quarterback in DFS this week. We shall see. But speaking about just, looking at the Kansas City Chiefs and who you can stack, just from a receiver standpoint, obviously Rashee Rice is a huge number, 7,700. But look at what Travis Kelce's been doing. Travis Kelce slowly but surely, 5,000 for Travis Kelce. Double-digit points, 5,000. When you're looking at, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, 6,000, 6,800, Travis Kelce is a tremendous value to me. Tremendous value to me. He really is. Because again, he's starting to get more and more involved, right? More and more involved. And then listen, Tyler Warren right on 5,500 is another good. Like you could stack double tight end. I think the tight ends are going to be huge in that game. I really do. And then when you go to wide receivers, you go down and down and down, and you talk about guys like Tyquan Thornton, who I love Thornton. I think he's going to get more rock, but you can listen. Hollywood Brown is an intriguing play to me this week in DFS. He's 4,200, and I know he's not great. I get it, but when you talk about these games with all the money coming in, and you're 50 and a half, 51 as a total over and under, it's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I firmly believe that. And there is holes in that secondary in Indianapolis. If they don't get the pass rush up, there is holes. And that line is getting stronger for the Kansas City Chiefs too. So a lot of things to look at. So I do like that game from a game stacking ability, Sean. That's one of my favorites, to be honest with you. All right, let's get to some bets because we got about 10 minutes. Again, make sure you subscribe, subscribe, you know the drill. And again, for all you baseball purists out there, make sure you get over to Tony Cutillo Show and you subscribe and you hit that like, hit the notification. Our brand new just normal sports talk, we call it Sports Talks on Replay, where we do a lot of what if scenarios, what if steroids never hit baseball. That was our new topic of discussion this week. And we also have a thing where we call it Jigsaw's Final Cut, where I asked, this is live, these are live guests in studio, where we ask player A, player B, they give a little dissertation, and we go on our way. So if you're a sports fan that likes to look back and not just deal with today, check it out. First episode is live. I think you guys will like that. So let's get right into some bets. And here's a 3-leg parlay for anytime touchdowns. I'm going to be honest with you. I am loving this anytime touchdown bet today. Now, you see, again, this is boosted over at DraftKings. You get the 50% parlay boost. You get the 4-pack, right? So make sure you get involved. If you don't know how to get it, make sure you get in contact with me. I'll let you know how it works. But Jameson Williams has just slowly but surely become a reliable target for Jared Goff. He's starting to mature a little bit. They're starting to utilize him even more. I think Dan Campbell has a lot to do with that ever since he took over the play calling. You see what he's trying to do out there. And especially when teams are, listen, last night, Quinyon Mitchell shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown last week in Philadelphia, and Jameson Williams had to be the guy to take over. There is no Sam Laporta. He goes on an hour. They lose another pass catcher. That just helps Jameson Williams even more. So anytime touchdown, plus 160. Love it against the Giants. High over and under. A lot of points scored in that game. And then I'm going to go back to the wheelhouse here. Rashid Shaheed comes over in the trade, just getting acclimated in that Clint Kubiak offense. I'm loving every minute of it. I know it's slow. It's slow, but it's going to be steady. And in that game, I think this is the Rashid Shaheed. I watched him drop a couple over the last couple weeks. I watched him drop a couple that were there that we would have been dancing. Would have been dancing down Jigsaw's alley, right? So I think this is Rashid Shaheed. This is the game where he gets that. Listen, I'm going to call it. I like to call these things, right? So I'm going to say he gets 5 targets in this game. He gets 4 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown is going to be a 42-yarder, something in that perspective. So or something in that range. That's where I like. And then Travion Henderson. I know Ramadre's back. If you listen to my Blades and Fades with AJ the Barber at the Major Edge, make sure you go follow at the Major Edge. My son, aspiring fantasy football talker and barber in school right now. You know, he loves Travion Henderson. You know, he talks about it. Even though Ramadre's back, doesn't matter. This kid is too good not to be on the field. Just like Makanjai or Manungai out there in Chicago. I butcher names, by the way, so I apologize. I'm terrible with that. But the thing with Manungai out there in Chicago is even when DeAndre Swift came back, he still was inserted and scored the following week again. So I like Travion Henderson, especially in that game against that terrible defense out there in Cincinnati. So that's a 3 parlay bet. That's plus 3120. Plus 3120. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? And again, you bet the single bet, so at least you come out with a wash because I never expect any of these parlays to get zeros. I expect us at least to get 1 or 2 of them. So, but we're going to go with trying to bang out all 3. I like this one right there. My man Tim says, Mike Gesicki, great value. Mike Gesicki, great value. That's a good call, Tim. I did. Let's look at where he's at on the list here. I want to see what we're projecting him to be. Let's see. Mike Gesicki on our list is 2,600. Tremendous value, right? We're projecting him 5 to 7 points. Now, again, that's just a projection number, but Mike Gesicki could definitely step in because no Jamar Chase. Listen, there's going to be a lot of players out there to catch balls. Simple. Jamar Chase gets 7 to 10 targets a game. They have to go somewhere. So I could definitely see at least 3 of them going to Gesicki. And for 2,600 in DFS, that's a tremendous value. Tremendous value for Mike Gesicki. Right? Tremendous value. He's actually in our top 13. So, yeah, good call. I like that. I like the Mike Gesicki touch. I do. All right, let's go to the last parlay here. And this one, again, boosted, another boost by DraftKings. This is a 4-leg. And you're going to see some players we've talked about. Rashid Shaheed. I still don't understand why the number's plus money. Over 2.5 catches. Rashid Shaheed, over 2.5 catches. They're not expecting him to break out yet for Seattle. I am. I'm telling you. Clint Kubiak is such an offensive mind that sometimes you overthink yourself. So when he comes over to trade, he's already thinking so many different scenarios. Give me a week or two to see how this guy works in practice, see how he works in the game, and see how he fits in our offense when we dial him up. So this is the week I think we dial him up. Right here, Rashid Shaheed over 2.5 is plus money, by the way. It's crazy. That one was on BetMGM, plus money at plus 110. So I like that number. We're going to go back to Mac Hollins. This is going to be a high over and under game. I get Kayshon Boutte is back. I understand. I get it. But Mac Hollins has shown that he can still insert him into offenses. You notice I'm not going for catches here. I'm flipping the script. I would have went Mac Hollins for the catches if Boutte wasn't playing. But now I'm going with yard because I still see Mac getting 2 to 3 targets in this game. And he's always a guy that can get a long play when you need it. When plays break down, so that's where Mac Hollins is really good. When plays break down, coverages break down, he knows how to come back to the quarterback, find space, and get that long play. So that's why I expect right there from Mac Hollins. And then I'm going to continue to ride the well on Christian Watson. I'm continuing to ride the well on Christian Watson. Oh, I didn't go with the catches because right now it's plus money, but they're bumping it up to, I think it's over 4.5. He's got to get at least 5, or it might be 5.5 on some books. I'm going to play it safe and go with the yards. I'm going to play it safe and go with the yards because the thing is, this Minnesota defense with Brian Flores, who should be getting another head coaching job now, he's proven himself again. Love Brian Flores. I just think he had some bad scenarios out there in Miami on his first turn around. But I like Christian Watson a lot against this defense for the big play. This might not be a big catch day for Christian Watson. He might only get 2 catches, but I think one of them will be for 30 or 35 plus yards. That's where I'm looking at. So that's why I like the 47.5 right there. And I think that's why it's juiced up a little bit at minus 130. And then I talked about Colston Loveland, man. He just continues to hit this number. He's plus money as well. Even money, right? But plus 100. So it's still plus, right? Because we're not in the negative. I like him to find that space again, over 29.5 in a game, again, that could be ruled by tight ends on both sides. You can talk about like Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, Washington, and then you have Colston Loveland. Could be the game of the tight end on both sides. Plus 1933 with the boost, man. That's where we're going. So again, there's the bets. There's the DFS value. Everybody have a fantastic Sunday. I think I got another question. My man, JD, checking in. He says, Zay Flowers, Christian Watson, K-Walk, pick 2 to play. Any trust in Kenneth Walker this week? Now, here's the thing, JD. I had a lot of trust in Kenneth Walker, a lot of coach speak. I heard a lot of very intriguing things from Mike McDonald talking about how they want to get him more, more touches and more play. However, it kept saying when he's ready. He missed some practice with a glute injury. Glute injuries are they're hairy. Glute injuries are hairy. That's the only thing that scares me with Kenneth Walker. Now, if you're willing to say you think it's 100%, I mean that Jets game, you're talking about Lamar Jackson possibly, having the best statistical fantasy week of any quarterback this week. Right, because of that hard, but that also could go another way. It could be, a defense that gets a couple balls and all of a sudden, like Seattle, like 3 weeks ago, right? Sam Darnold doesn't throw any touchdowns because they, against Arizona because they scored 3 defensive touchdowns and the game script goes to shit. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be an if either way. But if you had to tell me to lean aside, I like to play it safe. I would go Zay Flowers over Kenneth Walker this week only because I need to see it. For me, I can't get a 7-point Kenneth Walker week. Like, I need to see Kenneth Walker 100% as a full-time back going off. I need to see it. Oh, and by the way, that front with Jeffrey Simmons is no joke out there in Tennessee. Just throwing it out there. It's no joke. So they have some things to play for out there, and it's called pride. So I think I would go Zay Flowers on this, and obviously Christian Watson. So I'm going to go Zay Flowers and Christian Watson. That's where I'm going to go. Everybody, as always, make sure you like and subscribe. You want any promos or special deals, you have them right there on the QR code. Very, very simple. Scan. They're all there. If you have any questions, reach out to me. But most importantly, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. thank you all, obviously, for your support, for tuning in. And again, make sure you get over to BetQL. Check out BetQL.com. Get over to RotoQL as always. And if you're going to sign up, you could go on weeklies, monthlies. If you want a free trial, let me know. Just use that code word Jigsaw, JIGSAW, to get your trial and your 15% off. Everybody have a fantastic Sunday, and